Hey, hello again, everybody. Welcome to your Nooner with me, Dave LaMont, on this Monday, November the 8th. Took Friday off, spent some time up in South Walton County, up in the Destin Miramar Beach area, Panhandle, about 90 minutes away from Pensacola, to cover the South Walton Celebrity Golf Classic 25th annual. You had guys like Too Tall Jones in there. Jim McMahon was there. Mark Rippon, the Super Bowl MVP, whose team won the tournament. He's a pretty damn good golfer. Some former ball players. It was a great weekend, and eventually there'll be a TV program out about that once it all gets edited. So that's where Friday was, out on a golf course. Ooh, tough. Although, if you think it was a little cool for you South Floridians this morning, you should have been there on Friday with no sun and mid-50s and wind. The wind is what makes it bad. Mid-50s, good. Wind, bad. Simple. So, couple of things to talk about today, all football related stuff. Or no, we're not going to do not trading for Deshaun Watson. That was last week. Fine. I've stopped caring. I stopped caring about a week and a half ago when it was just incessant hype and with nothing happening until the offseason and the inability of Watson and his people to settle, or the unwillingness of the people who were named to settle, which is their right, then off we go. And the Aaron Rodgers thing is a mess. Here's a guy who had a pretty damn good public image, unless you were a fan of the Vikings, Bears, or Lions, and he lost a lot of fans over the weekend. He just did. You can agree with him on his stance if you'd like, but I'm getting the sense you would be in the minority. And then for him to double down on everything on Friday on his interview, which I didn't watch, but I read the comments. Not all of them, obviously, not every single word. Some weird stuff. So I don't know how he's going to fix that. I don't know how that locker room is going to feel about it. You've watched the game last night. They squeezed out one touchdown against a team in Kansas City that is not known as a great defensive juggernaut. Now, maybe they should have called fewer passing plays and tried to run the ball more. Not a bad idea. But it was just not the Green Bay Packers. So I want to see how he wins back that locker room if they're mad at him in the first place, because Jordan Love is not the guy who's going to lead them very far down the road. They could be a very good football team. The question you have to ask yourself after yesterday, is it all because of Aaron Rodgers and that team isn't that good, or it's that good and Jordan Love is that bad? And I don't understand what's happened with Mahomes. He made some good throws, but at the same time, he was missing people. And that's not the Pat Mahomes in the past few years, the guy who went to 2 Super Bowls. I'm mystified by what I saw there. He hasn't been sharp most of the season. He hasn't been putting up those crazy 5-touchdown, 400-yard days that he was before. It tells me the league has caught up to him a little bit for sure. And the fact that they have an average at best running game this year tells me that defensive coaches are finding out ways to make things more difficult, except for throwing to Travis Kelce, which seems to be extremely easy. I might do that 20 times a game. If he catches half of them, I'm going to be in pretty good shape. But here's the question I have about the pros before I get to what's going on with the University of Florida. Who's the best team in football right now in the NFL? Who is it? Okay, let's go through who we thought it was before yesterday. The Rams. Hey, Matthew Stafford got the young coach who loves offense, and Sean McVay. And look at them. They got a good running back in Henderson. Cooper Kupp is the hottest receiver in the game. And they got their butts beat last night by Tennessee, who won without Derrick Henry. They won with great defense. So I guess the Rams the best? Well, we just talked about the Packers. They had won 7 in a row after a disastrous first game. So is it Rodgers back and they'll be good again? I know, Buffalo. That's it. Buffalo was going to be the best team in the AFC. What the hell was that? It's one thing for Jacksonville to beat the Dolphins, but it's another thing for Jacksonville to beat the Bills. Suddenly, the Buffalo Bills, everybody's choice for like the kick butt of the AFC, is a very pedestrian 5-3. Like, whoop, big deal. They're 3-2 in their last 5. So are they that good, or are they a little overrated also? What about the Ravens? Well, they are 6-2, and they almost blew a game to Minnesota yesterday. Now, Lamar Jackson pulls them out of there, and they've got this remarkable field goal kicker, but they're 6-2. They're 4-1 in their last 5. Maybe it's Baltimore. Maybe it is the Titans at 7-2 with a 5-game win streak. We know who it is. I know. The Bengals are. Oh, wait. They've lost 2 in a row, and they got their brains beat in at home by the Browns, who hadn't been going along very well, and all this drama with whatever his name is. Oh, Odell Beckham Jr., that's it. You know who's hot? New England. They're 4-1 in the last 5. Are you telling me that they've figured it out with Mac Jones? You know what's even funnier? They're undefeated on the road and are 1-4 at home. They're not the best team in the AFC. I don't know who the best team in the AFC is. If you go by record, it's the Titans, and maybe it is the Titans. That would be, Ryan Tannehill, the former Dolphin quarterback. You remember those days. Yeah, me too. Now, on the NFC, well, it's got to be the Cowboys. Man, they got Dak. Oh, my God, what happened to them yesterday? Now, they're still 6-2. They're in a horrifying division, so they're going to win it just by default, the 2 sweetest words in the English language, according to Homer Simpson. But come on, man. I mean, the Vikings are 3-5. The Broncos, who beat their brains in, are for now 5-4. The AFC West actually has 4 teams winning records now that the Chiefs won and that the Broncos won. But still, that game was in Dallas, man. Come on. The Packers at 7-2. Well, up until yesterday, is it the Bucks? Oh, that's got to be it. The Super Bowl champs. Yeah, that's it. Brady, and when Gronk gets back, and they're 6-2. But do they inspire you? Do they draw fear? Is it the Saints? No, not after yesterday. The Falcons? I understand. But you're supposed to be able to overcome quarterback injuries. Well, the Packers couldn't do it. The Saints couldn't do it. The problem is Rodgers will be back, but Jameis Winston won't be. Good luck there, New Orleans. I know Sean Payton's a fine coach and good with quarterbacks, but good luck. Allow me to nominate the Arizona Cardinals at 8-1. Whipped San Francisco yesterday. Boy, that team is. They made a mistake with Handsome Jimmy at quarterback. And they have no confidence in Trey Lance. He hardly plays except in little situations, so they don't want to use him just yet. But it may come to a situation with them that they may decide to let's just throw him out there and see what happens. And Seattle is a depressing 3-5. So I guess my point is the classic on any given Sunday, like the Giants beat the Raiders. That's not supposed to happen. You have the Steelers, Bears tonight. The Steelers are 4-3 as a fringe football team. The Bears are the Bears. They're already writing stories about replacing the coach who still has his job. That's how well things are going in Chicago. Don't be surprised if the Bears win tonight based on this any given Sunday thing, which is definitely coming back. I don't know if this is good for the NFL or if it's bad for the NFL. Is it great to have this kind of competitive surprise balance where you can get a Jacksonville beating a Buffalo? You could get an upset tonight with the Bears. Buffalo was a 15-point favorite in that game, and they lost by 3, and they never scored a touchdown. Buffalo Bills lost a game yesterday to a bad football team without giving up a touchdown, and they still lost. Just when you think Josh Allen is rolling along, the quarterback, Josh Allen shows up to tell him he's not. So, good luck trying. I know who the worst team in the league is, though. That would be Houston. They clinched it yesterday. So that was a battle for the worst. And 9 turnovers later, we got our answer. For you Tua fans out there, I don't know what to tell you. I saw a picture of the guy's finger. I'm not going to comment on the injury because I had a broken finger once, but I'm not a quarterback. And I don't have a throwing hand per se. So if he's not comfortable throwing the football, if it's painful or if the ball's coming out weirdly, then let it be. let him go ahead and sit the game out, maybe even Thursday against the Ravens. Ooh, that could get rough. But you know what? The way things are going this year, I'd look at the point spread before I make any decisions, because the Ravens could blow this game. You know, that was an emotional affair against the Vikings. They had to come from way down. And the Dolphins aren't traveling. Not that a trip from Baltimore to South Florida is all that exhausting, mind you, but I'm just saying that the way this year's gone, nothing would surprise me in the NFL. It also wasn't very surprising that Todd Grintham and the Gators offensive line coach were let go by Dan Mullen yesterday. Mullen is not a guy who strikes me as someone who really enjoys lopping off the heads of his assistant coaches during the season. But after watching some of that debacle in South Carolina, that was a surprise even, I think, to South Carolina. It was obvious that things had to change in Gainesville. And all of a sudden, and I don't remember a more dramatic turnaround in love our coach, hate our coach than Florida fans. Remember, a season ago, Florida was extremely close to beating Alabama and winning the SEC outright and entering the debate for the playoff. And they played Alabama very tough this year as well. But his record against power programs, top 5 programs, is poor. In the last bunch against, like, 2-9. They're losing games they're supposed to win. The Kentucky game looks a little worse now that Kentucky's gone on a losing streak. And South Carolina is a program that needed a jolt and got one. Now, South Carolina now has a better record than Florida. Florida has a losing record after almost being SEC champs. Now, that devastating loss to LSU last year, the infamous thrown shoe game, seemed to be the cow tipping point here. Although, again, afterwards, possibility of winning the SEC, no. But here's the problem, that Dan Mullen has created some of this on his own by some of the things he has said. Mullen strikes me as a little bit of a guy who's a little different. I don't think he's a big attention guy. There are some coaches who absolutely bathe in attention and who handle it really well. Mullen has always seemed to touch awkward about it. And now, he just, after they lose, he just never seems to come off well. Now, he said they had a massive flu bug that ripped through the team. That would be a good excuse. If you had a bunch of guys who were sick, and so sick that some of them couldn't even get off the bus, then that could be that undoubtedly was a contributing factor. But their defense, which was pretty good the last couple of years, has been awful this year. He seems to have forgotten about Anthony Richardson based on the other day. And folks have turned on quickly. But Gator fans are an unusual bunch, and I know a lot of them. Many of them can't stand Urban Meyer, who brought them national titles, because of the way he left. They turned fast on Dan Mullen. The only guy they will always adore is Steve Spurrier, who was one of their own and a pretty damn successful coach at Florida and highly entertaining as well. He gets the ultimate hall pass from Gators fans. But the rest of them, Meyer is a quitter who abandoned the program and left the cupboard bare. And then Will Muschamp is hated, of course, because he was mediocre. And now Dan Mullen is turning into a hated figure because of the way this season has turned out. Because why? What do we always talk about? The E word, expectations. The filthiest word in the English sports language, expectations. Because if they're not met, then you're a failure. And if you exceed them, then you're a great success. Jacksonville winning yesterday all of a sudden makes Urban Meyer look like a mild genius in the NFL because they beat Buffalo. He exceeded expectations. Nobody thought they were going to win that game. Hell, maybe some Jacksonville guys didn't think they were going to win that game, but they did. So now everybody feels great. Woo! The Dolphins were supposed to be a playoff team this year, we were told. Well, we know how that's working out. Unless they somehow win 8 more games in a row and go 10-7, that's not happening. They're not going to be a playoff team. and they still have to play an improving New England team. They've got this Baltimore game coming up. Not a lot of fun. I don't think an 8 and 9 team is going to make the playoffs. Although the way the NFL is opening up to 7,000 different playoff spots these days, I can't even keep up with how many teams are going to make it. So, Gators fans are mad. Hurricanes fans are cautiously happy. I'm still reading about all this stuff. Well, let me get Mario here next year. Dude, if you run the table, Mario's going anywhere. Unless Manny Diaz does something illegal. If he wins out, why would you fire him? Because you don't like him? I don't think that's how this works. Were they sloppy? Yeah, it's a sloppy game. They won it. I wrote on Twitter, shut up and move on. Take the win. Shut up, move on. Stop complaining. You won. The same close games you were losing, you're now winning. So you could do if there were a few bounces here, we'd be 5-2. Well, you're not. So just take it. I think Diaz did the right thing. He starts off and says it's Florida State week. Great move. But every game for Miami now, I mentioned, is zero margin for error for Hurricanes football. Zero margin for error. Because if they slip up to Florida State, it's doubly bad because Florida State is just very, very mediocre. And it drops Miami to 5-5. And that looks bad. But Miami's winning with young people. They're winning now with a quarterback who looks to be a potential star in a quarterback-heavy league in the ACC where Pitt, Wake Forest, North Carolina, Virginia, all of them great quarterbacks. Maybe Tyler Van Dyke should be mentioned in that same conversation or close to it. Maybe another couple of games, and you can't. So I'm not sure what y'all are still complaining about because they are winning. And that, to me, is always going to be the bottom line. Cincinnati won, bottom line. Now, they're going to get screwed by the playoff committee. They've already announced that with last week's rankings. So Cincinnati could go 59-0, and a 12-loss SEC team is going to get in ahead of them. So now that we know that, we can sort of relax and try to figure out what they're going to do tomorrow with the latest rankings, which will have Georgia, Bama 1-2, and then, I don't know, Michigan State's going to dump out. Maybe Ohio State gets boosted, although they had a pretty win versus Nebraska. So, but whatever it is, Cincinnati won't be in there. We got that figured out already. And whatever happened to all the expansion talk? Remember that over the summer? Oh, this is inevitable. It may be inevitable, but inevitable has taken a long time to get here. Long time. Well, they debate 8, 12, 16. 16. Come on, man. Seriously? You're going to invite like a 3-loss team to play for the national championship? Or a 2-loss team? Let's not water the product down any more than it already is. The NCAA basketball tournament has it right, although I hate the play-ins. Passionately hate the play-ins. Because you're screwing 2 smaller schools. You're forcing the 2 teams that are the weakest, or out of the 4, to play an extra game. To me, if you're in the play-in, you're not in the NCAA tournament. That's just my view. It's like, you're not really in it. You're not? No, you're not. We'll talk about that later because college basketball at the Division I level starts tomorrow. That's it. That's your nooner. Talk to you Friday.